Greetings, everyone in the YouTube world and all of my two followers, or how many I have. So, my podcast is really starting to gain momentum. It's still a slow burn. It's still, we're not anywhere near where I'd like to be. But given the fact that I just started back in like February, March, I'm approaching 30 episodes now. Um, just beyond my wildest dreams. And we're shifting now. So we're, in the beginning I bitched and I moaned about my ex because she sucked me into her little vortex of gaslighting and manipulating and cheating. And I admitted I stayed and I took the beating, finally to get out 2 years later, whatever. Um, and yeah, I was bitter and I was angry and I was mad and I jumped on a podcast and I started bitching about it. But that was months ago, and I have learned so much. I have had other people on who have gone through the same thing. I have had experts on, and we are tearing apart, dissecting all the traits of narcissistic people, the gaslighting, the manipulation, the cheating, the lying, and not just tearing them apart. We're digging into the origins of them, how they got started, where the terms came from. We're just covering it from A to Z, and we're not done. We just scratched the surface. I want to know why a person goes out, let's just say on a dating app, and looks for a partner. I mean, you spend all this money on a dating app, or you spend all this time creating a profile, and you find somebody and you connect with them only to abuse them. They put on their best performance in the first 6 months. They get you to fall in love with them, and it's called the honeymoon period. We all know that. Everybody in a relationship puts on that perfect persona in the beginning, and it's fake, it's false, it's a lie. And because 6 months, 8 months, whatever later, their real persona emerges. But when you fall in love with that person during those first 6 months, and then you see that person go away and a new persona comes in, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow morphing, and we don't necessarily recognize it at first. But let's say a year into the relationship, now, wow, you find yourself smack in the middle of this abusive relationship. She cheated on you, she lied to you, she's starting fights with you and arguments and gaslighting you, and you're like dumbfounded. You're like, this is not the person I met a year ago. Why do these people do this? What agenda do they have? What's the purpose behind this? And then to drag it out for another year or 2 years, or sometimes I've heard stories that go on for a decade. Because it's not fun. It's not fun for them. It's not fun for you. The love that is there, or the chemistry is there, is up and down, and there are multiple breakups and then reunites and break up and reunites, and it's just a waste of time. And yes, it's, in my case, it all rests on my shoulders because I should have walked away. I didn't in the beginning. I confronted her 100 times about many different issues, and they were met with lies and manipulation and gaslighting. So I take full responsibility for that. But now, so what I'm doing in this podcast here is I'm trying to, after the first 6 to 10 episodes, I explain everything, what happened and what she did, and and how I was affected but why I stayed. But they were still questions in my head. And then I just realized I can't publish a podcast based on one relationship that went bad. It was a 2-year relationship. I've been in 15, 20 relationship my whole life. They all went bad. But why did I pick this one to finally go public and talk about it? Well, this one really threw me for a loop because I really thought this one was my twin flame. I thought this one was my person. I thought this one was going to be the one that I was going to ride off into the sunset with. Man, was I wrong. So the podcast is now shifting into the healing phase and even post healing. I have healed. I'm done. I'm moving on. But that's where the challenge is. Okay. 7.5 months or whatever post breakup, she's no longer an obsession in my mind. But here's the problem. As I go back into the real world, or if I go on a dating app, and I'm not looking to get into a relationship by any stretch of the imagination, not whatsoever. I am just not ready for that. But I'd like to date. I would like to go out to dinner and sit across the table with a beautiful woman and enjoy a nice dinner, and then go take a walk on the boardwalk, go down to the beach, go see a movie, whatever. The summer's here, and I'm just looking for companionship. It could be dates. It could maybe evolve into a relationship ultimately, but that's not my intent. I'm going to try to date as many women as possible. And then you think, as simple as that might sound, I found out that it is not that simple. Okay. If you're in the dating world, if you're on a dating app and you're finding out what I'm finding out, and I have some friends who are on dating apps, and we're talking about it. And go listen to my podcast. I have 2 or 3 people that I interview who have had nothing but horrible experiences on the dating apps. And I just had one myself. I met somebody, I'm going to say it, on Match.com, and I don't know who contacted who first. I don't remember. It was several weeks ago, and it doesn't really matter. We chatted, but she quickly said, I don't want to be on, I'm not going to be on this dating app very long. I want to get off. So let's get off this dating app. And if we're going to date, let's start dating. Just kind of pushing me and rushing me along. And that's not how it works. All right. But in typical, I'm going to say it, dumb Andrew fashion, I played along. I was like, sure, okay, listen, because she wanted my phone number like the first night, and I was like, no. At least I was smart enough not to do that. I insisted on a video chat, which is one of the safety features inside Match. You can do a video chat within Match, and you don't have to give out your phone number. And she seemed like a fine lady, a nice lady, and she was very pretty. And but then came the sob story. Okay. I'm being stalked by my ex, and my Alexa is flashing. Interesting. And she started giving me the sob story about her ex is stalking her, that her phone had been hacked. And I don't know whether I got to be careful how I say this. Let's just say that I did what I typically do. I'm a nice guy. I really have no malintent. So I offered the woman some help. I said, hey, let's get together. I'll bring you to a public Wi-Fi site. I'll give you a VPN, and I know it's secure to begin with, but we'll make it more secure with a VPN, and then we'll upgrade your phone. We'll try to, because she had version like 13, iOS 13 on there, and should have been 16. And plus the phone was 4 years old. She hadn't updated it. She had 500 Safari websites open, and she had, I kid you not, 30 apps open. So that just drains the battery, drains the memory. I'm just explaining to you what the problem she was having. So we fixed all of that in this public place. And then I invited her back to my place, which is a dumb, and it is rule number one: never, ever bring your first date, or I would even go as far as to say second or third date, back to your place. You don't know this person. They are a stranger. While you're dating to get to know them, you don't know them. And yet I brought this woman back to my place to use my Wi-Fi to finish working on the phone once I thought it was secure to do so. Turns out that this woman, after she left that day and went home, came back down to my house 2 or 3 days later. And I know this because somebody was looking out for me and saw her car parked in front of my house. And she's got, I want to say, a unique car. It's a common model in luxury world, but there was something unique about this car. Let's just say the paint job that differentiated it among some of the other models. And this person came to me and said, "Hey, I just want you to know, while you were at work that day, that car that was here on Sunday, that woman," and by the way, she smoked, which was a flag. I should have just, I'm not a smoker, so I don't know what I'm doing dating somebody who smokes. So he had seen her go out to her car and smoke. She would lean against the car. So the guy was my landlord. He was sitting in his second floor window, and he sees the whole neighborhood. So he saw her going out and smoking on that Sunday. So he recognized not only her, but the car. Like, I shouldn't say recognized. He noticed her. So when he came to me a couple of days later, he said, that same woman in the same car came back here while you were at work and was parked in front of your house for about 20 to 30 minutes, sitting in the car, and then she drove off. What the fuck? All right. Like, why are you back at my house? So, of course, I confronted her with it that night, and she denied it. But I trust my landlord. He went out of his way to come to me just to let me know that he thinks that I should know this. And this turned into a problem because I ended up cutting off contact with this woman. I said, if she had malintent, she had my password to my Wi-Fi because dumb me put it in her phone. So what was she doing back in my house? And you can get my Wi-Fi on my street. Most houses are. You can sit in front of anybody's house and catch their Wi-Fi. It's if you have the password, whether you can get into the Wi-Fi. No, I don't think she was using my Wi-Fi. She didn't come down to the house to use the Wi-Fi. She came down to do something malicious, either hack into it or install some sort of whatever. I know it sounds paranoid. I know it sounds crazy, but my landlord swears it was the same woman. And now she's accusing me of hacking her phone because I cut off contact with her, and a whole week goes by and I don't hear from her. And all of a sudden, 2 nights ago, I get a text message from her. "Where you been?" And I told her, I said, I'm done with you. I said, you're stalking me, and I just can't have that. And she turned it around on me and said, "I'm stalking you. You're the one that hacked my phone, blah, blah, blah." And I just don't have time for this drama. And once again, if I didn't learn anything from the last relationship, the red flags, or here's the phrase: what we ignore in the beginning of a relationship is what usually ends the relationship. Okay. They're red flags. And this was The smoking was a red flag. I shouldn't have been with her. The stalking of her ex-boyfriend was a red flag. I should not have gotten involved. I tried to help the woman, and either she took advantage of me or her and her boyfriend were in collusion together. I don't know. And I'm not even giving it like too much thought. I just know that I spent a whole week changing passwords and amping up my security again, and whatever. This dating app world sucks. You just can't find a nice person, and that's just one story. I got a half a dozen others of women. You match, you say hello, you have a conversation for like 24 hours, and then they disappear. They just don't talk to you again, and which is fine if you don't think we're a match. But say something. Say, hey, look, I'm going to move on. I'm not feeling it. What happened to human decency? You know, I don't know. I don't know if I'm one of a kind or I'm just a pushover or an easy mark for some people. I got to toughen up my boundaries. I got to toughen up my skin. And folks, if you listen to my podcast, I told you from day one, I'm going to be open and honest with you, and I'm going to tell you everything that's going on. If nothing else, I need to journal what's going on in case something down the road comes back to haunt me. I have no malintent. I'm just looking to get today is what? May 20th, okay? Even though it's crappy weather out, in another 2 to 3 weeks, it's going to start hitting 70, 75, 80, and June will be here, and that's the beach season. I'm buying my beach passes next week. And I want to go to the beach with somebody. I want to go to the boardwalk. I want to go to a movie. I want to go out east where I live. It's where there's more beaches and take a day trip. Or whatever. I just want to get out and have some fun with some ladies. Nothing serious. And again, as I've said 100 times, I'm not looking to get laid. No sex. Not about that. It's just about having the summertime, which is my favorite time of year. And I want to go out and have some fun this summer. If any of these women that I'm dating that I'm not dating anybody currently, but if one comes along and it morphs into something more, I'll take it cautiously and slowly. I've been too burned and burnt and hurt and stomped on these past 3 years, and I'm just the heart's closed. I don't trust anybody, but I can't let that prevent me from moving forward. And in addition, I want some content for my podcast. If I find a woman online and I go on a date, I'm going to tell you guys about it. I'm going to share it with you. All right. Until it gets to the point where maybe it's no longer appropriate. Okay. And even then I might, depending on if it's a relationship or not. So anyway, just wanted to do another YouTube shout out. Please follow me on Anonymous Andrew Podcast. I am on Instagram. I am on obviously YouTube. I am on Facebook. It's not really the podcast, but you can find me on Facebook. But go to Instagram or whatever platform you have, whether it's Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Google, TuneIn, Stitcher, Apple. They're all the zillion platforms to listen to podcasts. I am on all of them. All right. So look for Anonymous Andrew Podcast. The episodes are listed 1 through 30, but look at the title. If the title it has a subject that's interesting, listen to it. I'd like you to listen from the beginning so you get the idea, but whatever, listen to whatever you want. I have some great guests that I'm interviewing. I got some experts coming on that I've had on and I have lined up for the next 2 weeks. So we're going to dig into life and the choices we make in relationships, how to date, how to get out of a bad situation, how to not get into it in the first place, all this stuff. I can't be the only one. There's got to be other people out there. And it doesn't matter what age you are. Okay. Don't look at me and look and say, oh, look at this old man. If anything, I have some lifelong experience. I'm trying to help everybody. So whether you're 22 or 52 or whatever, it's the people that we date. If they have malintent and if they're looking to hurt you, it doesn't matter. It's all ages. So this podcast isn't for just like us older folk. Anyway, I'm rambling and I'm going to go have my dinner. Okay. Anonymous Andrew Podcast. Check me out. Have a good one. Ciao.